And we're
Get
back
me
live.
through this life, baby.
And we're back live, baby, live, WZR Radio. A little bit of third odd line. Come on,
1998
man.
up in this motherfucker. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We, third odd blind. Well, it could have been worse. You know what I mean? I was thinking about doing the Fleetwood Mac thing, like I did last week or the previous week. We could have played the Eagles or something like that, but I figured it was an upgrade. Third eye blind, you know, it's an upgrade.
Did
so
this
be
freaking
happy.
chat lock up on me again, man?
It happens
again. Right at the hour.
We won't have this problem next week, hopefully, man. Hopefully, we'll have the new production in, I don't know, whatever. We'll have it next week, so.
Yeah.
Anyways, we got a little bit more to talk about. We got to run down UFC. Want to talk a little bit about the Kanye West WWE story. They offered him, a story on MediaTakeout.com, which is a horrible, horrible gossip website.
Yeah, I remember they had a big story. I think they were the ones that tried saying Eminem was going to be at WrestleMania one year, and it never turned out.
And who was it? New York from VH1's reality show there, Miss New York or whatever she was. They reported that she was in talks with WWE. But I saw a video, which I haven't put on the website, but it was on a major morning talk show. And I don't know if they got the news based off that Media Takeout story or if they had more sources. But they said that Vince McMahon told them that it'd be a 2-appearance deal and then a pay-per-view deal. So 3 appearance deal, 2 live TV events, and then
it's not out of the question that they would offer him something based on the controversy that he stirred up. And I mean, he would be a perfect fit for WWE. I mean, he's the kind of guy that, I mean, he fits image-wise. I'm sure once he's there and there's a live mic in his hand and he's actually told to do something and go a certain direction, I'm sure it wouldn't be what you expected, but it still would be a big deal in the media. Yeah.
Right. Well, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what they do. Jim Ross came out in his blog and said that it was completely false, fake story, da-da-da-da-da-da. I'm not too sure about that. It's a lot more people are starting to pick up on that story, and I don't know if it's just based off on that one website or where it's coming from. But $10 million is quite a
that could be the absurd part. It might not be a $10 million offer, but there's no Jim Ross is not really in with WWE at the level he used to be to know for sure if any kind of offer was made. I'm sure he knows enough to know that they didn't offer him $10 million to do 2 shows or something. But if they made an offer, he wouldn't. It's not a guarantee that he would know what the details of that offer was anymore.
Hey,
you know?
Hey, can I just do this one more time? Just one more time for the people in the chat room.
You want something else?
All right, that's it.
Do 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 do.
That's for my fans in the chat room. WZR.
I can't see them, man. The damn thing is frozen on me. I bet they're kissing my ass right now, and I can't see it. I hate it.
They love it, baby. They love it. WZROnline.com /chat. Live phone number to call is 724-444-7444. Call ID number 30273. Followed by pound key. All right. UFC. Let's run down a little bit of UFC right now. We got to start out with the Wednesday night show on Spike TV. The
UFC Fight Night.
Ultimate Fight Night 19.
Yes.
Headlined by Melvin Guillard and Nate Diaz.
Yes.
This was actually better than the pay-per-view.
This was an amazing show. I swear to God, I promised myself, because a lot of the times we'll call each other and make bets on fights, but usually when it's an Ultimate Fight Night, you kind of know who's going to win every fight.
Right.
So I didn't feel the need to call you and be like, yo, I got this guy. I know you're going to take the other guy. I'm going to win your money. I'm going to take your money. I didn't feel the need to do that, but about the second, I think I saw 2 rounds of the first fight, which was Nate Quarry versus Tim Crater. And I saw about 2 rounds of this fight, and I said, fuck it, man, I got to call this dude. This is insane, you know. And I called you up. I'm like, "Are you watching this? Are you watching this show?" It was the most amazing fight. By the end, Nate Quarry's eye was swollen up so bad it looked like 10,000 bees that were pissed off and just angry stung him right in his face. Tim Crater was taking bombs that should have detached his head from his shoulders, and somehow he regained consciousness and kept his composure, stayed on his feet, swung back, would hurt Quarry from time to time in the midst of damn near being maimed. It was an amazing fight. It won fight of the night, as it should, but then the next fight, Carlos Condit, Nate Quarry won that fight, by the way, by decision. Split, was it split decision or no? I think unanimous decision.
Unanimous, yeah.
Yeah, and then the next fight was Carlos.
29-28, 29-27, and 29-28 for Quarry.
So all judges gave him 2 rounds, but one judge gave him a 10-8 round in one of the rounds. So he definitely won 2 rounds of the fight, according to all 3 judges. The next fight was Carlos Condit against Jake Ellenberger, who was supposed to be just a setup kind of guy, because Condit lost his debut in the UFC to Martin Kampmann. They thought he could handle Kampmann, he couldn't, and things went the other way, which they used Kampmann on the pay-per-view, which we'll talk about in a minute. So they give Condit a fight they think he can win and look good in, and this Ellenberger has a fucking right hand that would, I swear to God, it's like, picture like in The Incredible Hulk when he's swatting that, like, or what is it, King Kong? I forget. Like when they're in the building and they're swatting the damn airplanes down, the helicopters, like, get the fuck out of here. They're hitting those motherfuckers. His right hand was like that. I mean, he would touch Condit with that right hand, and you would fear for Condit's life the second the impact was made. I mean, you were like, how is that human, that punch? And somehow Condit...
this is coming off that first fight, which is unbelievable. You know, I mean, this entire show from top to bottom.
They went to the point, as soon as the first fight ended, Joe Rogan and Mike Goldberg were both like, well, there's no reason to talk about who's going to win fight of the night because nothing's going to beat that. And very rarely, especially with the first fight, I mean, let alone middle of the show, but anytime before the main event, do they guarantee you that the main event or whatever's coming up next is not going to be anywhere near as good as what you just saw. They very rarely go that way. Right. But this time they were like, there's no way. And, I mean, let's just be honest. There's no way anything can be better than what we just saw. And then the first round of that Condit-Ellenberger fight was fucking phenomenal, too. I mean, it simmered down in the second and third round. But based on the first round, you thought, holy shit, this fight's going to be even better than what we just saw. It was that kind of fight. And, you know, in the end, Condit won a split decision. He was able to weather the storm of those right hands that we described a minute ago. And, you know, he won a split decision, 2-1 on 2 cards, and then 1-2 on the opposing card. So he was able to pull off the victory, but it was a slightly disputed victory. Some people thought Ellenberger deserved to win there. I think Condit did enough to pull off 2 rounds. But he definitely 29-28, 28-29, 29-28 were the scores on that, I believe. Yeah. Yes, right. Exactly. So it was close, but he definitely didn't look impressive winning if he did win, which I think he won, but it definitely didn't look impressive. Somebody else who didn't look impressive in winning was Gray Maynard. He defeated Roger Huerta in what was really the main event of the show, because that's the most important fight as far as, you know, what happens going forward. That had the biggest implications coming out of that fight, and it was Huerta's last fight on his UFC contract, and he wants to be an actor, and he wants $1 million trillion to fight. At least that's the story that's spread to the media. It seems to be most people are taking the UFC side in that debate, where Huerta was the first guy on Sports Illustrated when UFC got big, and he's a huge deal for their Latin expansion into the Mexican market and territory and business down there. So he's a big deal, and he knows it. Only he doesn't play sitting duck like everybody else that doesn't know it. You know what I mean? He's not George St. Pierre, who is really single-handedly building a business in Canada for that company and takes, you know, less than what Mayweather would make 10% up for a fight or something. You know what I mean? Right. Huerta was like, you know, no, fuck that. I want my money. And they weren't paying him like that because he hasn't broken through to the main event level yet. I mean, he had a chance against Kenny Florian and he lost. Well, I always remember Roger Huerta from that fight with Clay Guida. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was just a freaking war back in the day. That was the fight of the year that year. Yeah, definitely. Right. I mean, that's where I remember him. So he's done. So he's leaving UFC. He's done with MMA in general, as far as I know. Yeah, I believe he's just done fighting, and he thinks he can make money in acting, which he won't. That's big, because I was a big fan of his. You know what I mean? I know he lost, but I mean, it was, you know what I mean? Well, he lost to Florian by a close decision. Florian eats up everybody else except for BJ Penn. So that was impressive enough, even in losing. Here in winning, Maynard wasn't impressive in winning, but Huerta was impressive in losing, Because quite frankly, I could give that fight to Huerta if I'm being picky and I'm saying, all right, forget his last contract and forget that we want Maynard to win because he's undefeated and going forward he's staying with the company. So if he wins, it's a bigger deal for that division. I'm just being fair and I'm judging that fight as a single fight like you're supposed to. I'm very torn as to who won it. I mean, I figured Maynard will win, but the actual scores, I mean, two of the judges had it 30-27 for Maynard, and there's no way in hell he won all three rounds decisively enough.
Do you think it's because UFC knew that he was leaving and
well, there's that, but I mean, the UFC has no control. They have no control over the judges and the referee. Those are appointed by the Athletic Commission, which in this case would have been Oklahoma. Maybe it is UFC appointed in Oklahoma. Do they have a state athletic commission? I don't even know.
I don't know.
But because Jim Ross was at the show, by the way, and Mike Goldberg, who, remember they almost signed Mike Goldberg to do Raw, and they were going to replace Jim Ross.
I heard Goldberg went over and talked to him.
Yeah, he put his headset down in the middle of the show and went over to talk to Jim Ross, and, you know, they had their little private conversation. But, yeah, I mean, there's no way that Maynard won all three rounds of that fight, and two judges said he did, and the other judge said he won, or no, the other judge said he lost 2 rounds and gave Huerta to her. So, and, you know, so I guess you could say crooked judging, but
didn't two of the judges had it 30-27, which
for Maynard, and then the third judge had it 29-28 for Huerta, meaning two judges gave Maynard all 3 rounds and Huerta none, and then the opposing judge gave Huerta 2 rounds and Maynard only 1. So it's very conflicted judging, which leads you, especially considering the circumstances, leads you to believe that there was some foul play afoot. But I mean, the judges are not connected with the UFC as far as we know, so it shouldn't be. I don't know. I mean, unless they're swayed one way or the other. Hey, let's have dinner, and you know, I have no idea. I don't know how that works, but that was definitely not a good scoring. So we'll call it that. But Maynard won. You know,
Maynard won, and then the main event with Nate Diaz and Melvin Guillard was this ended in a submission. Nate Diaz tapped him out with a guillotine choke, I believe, right? Round 2?
Yeah, but I mean, before that, Melvin Guillard, you predicted he would win. That was the only fight we disagreed on. I said Diaz is going to eat him up for breakfast. It'll be no big deal.
Yeah, Melvin was taking him, man. Melvin I gave Melvin round 1, and then
definitely,
round 2
absolutely.
He
knocked him down, he almost knocked him out. I mean, he fucked him up in the first round, definitely.
Nate Diaz is I'm a big fan of both Diaz's. You know, I like the shit talking, you know what I mean? When they put their hands up and say, do something, dude, you know what I mean?
It reminds me of our brother Steven, because he's a skinny little bitch that doesn't look scary at all, and you just blow him over, but he jacks his shoulders up and he gets a mean look on his face, and you're supposed to be scared, but you're not, and then you fight him and you're like, oh shit, maybe I should be scared, and that's what happened with Melvin, and he kind of got tired halfway, because even in round 2 he was beating the shit out of him. But he kind of got tired halfway through the round, and Nate kind of took over. And then he played possum at one point. Nate actually landed a big punch on Melvin, and Melvin acted like it hurt him way more than it did, and he was backing up like he was about to fall down even though he wasn't. And then right when Nate charged in, Melvin tried to shoot on him, and Nate let him take him down and then just secured like a guillotine choke from hell because there was no resistance on the guillotine choke. He had it completely all around his throat with the blade of your forearm, and he grabbed his wrist as opposed to locking his hand. So, I mean, he had full torque on it. And, yeah, there was no other choice but to tap out or go completely unconscious very quickly from that. That's why he tapped so quickly. He even did one of his things. Remember, there's a famous highlight clip of him when he gets a triangle on somebody, he starts flexing his biceps in the middle of the triangle before the guy